All right, we got your two clips here synced up to the moment of release. We'll let you watch it 2 times here before we dive into the note that was provided, give you some big league examples to drive home that point, and then give you a couple drills to start chipping away at these adjustments. All right, and that note that we gotcha is establishing some early momentum and controlling your back knee. So we'll start with the first note, which is early momentum. And what that means is during our leg lift, rather than having it come all the way up, which we do a great job of having a nice high leg lift, and then our body just kind of going down, 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 and not gaining a lot of momentum down this mound. On top of that, that note that we gave with controlling your back knee, these two adjustments here for you specifically go hand in hand. Because if we have better control of your back knee, it's going to be easier for you to establish that momentum. And what I mean by that is we watch how this back knee is going to kind of just like collapse or fold or drift forward and also out. And if we kind of highlight it here, we can kind of see that happening there and then also happening here, where it's just kind of collapsing inwards. If we could instead think about this back knee trying to fight to stay back a little bit more for us, while our body still gains ground, we're going to be in a lot stronger position to ultimately launch from, or rotate from, or drive from, or explode off of, whatever term you like to hear or think about or associate it with. If I got a couple big leaguers up here to illustrate that momentum for us, let me start here with the hardest thrower of them all, Ben Joyce. And we'll just kind of notice as this leg lift is coming up, we're going to note that his body starts to drift forward ever so slightly. Just ever so slightly, he's allowing his body to drift towards that target. Drift, 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 drift. So by the time that leg does start to come down out of its leg lift, his body's already got momentum going forward. And what we can see then is we got better control over this back knee, so that way it's staying back for longer, so that way it's in a stronger position to fire from. If we then bring you back up and kind of think about those same things, right? So we'll get you to like here. We'll draw some of those lines to make it easier to see us gain ground or not. So that leg comes up, leg goes down, and now you're finally breaking this barrier here, which is the barrier that your nose is right in front of. So now your body is already now this low to the ground, and we've yet really to begun to go forward. We pull that back to Ben Joyce, and he's going forward, going forward, going forward, going forward, really going forward with space still to travel. So it'd be like you and I in our own separate cars at the red light, waiting for that light to turn green to race. except I know exactly when that light's going to turn green, so I can start to take my foot off the brake and start to slowly accelerate and then hit my gas pedal when that light turns green at the same exact time. I'm going to be off that line faster than you, no matter if I had the worst car in the world and you had the best car in the world. And that's all we're thinking about is this is just a dead sprint. The faster you start, the easier it's going to be to finish strong. So with earlier momentum in your delivery and being able to keep that back knee back a little bit better is going to help, I think, really catapult you as a pitcher. Because you definitely got the frame to be a guy up there. And we do a lot of things well. We got that good leg lift. This glove path is good. It finishes well. Our eyes are on the target. We have good ability to finish through release. I think if we could just tweak those things in the beginning, that's going to help us all around. So let me get another guy up here for you who throws pretty hard. We'll watch as his legs coming up, we can start to see that drift of that body ever so slightly forward to help him get some momentum. And then even more so that back knee wanting to stay back even with that aggressive momentum forward, so that way he can be aggressive with its bam rotation, getting himself anchored into that ground. So those are the two things I think that can really help you a lot. We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. We got 3 stages to this drill that's going to help us learn how to get early momentum in our delivery. Stage 1's on the left, 2's in the middle, and the final stage is on the right. Stage 1, we're just getting comfortable with our body going forward without our feet needing to get involved at all. Just allowing that weight to go into the wall as that elbow touches, and then extend ourselves back out. Second drill gets the leg lift going. I use my offhand at the top of my leg lift, so I have a thing to kind of judge my timing off of. When do I feel my knee touching my hand compared to my elbow touching that wall? And I'm looking for it to be as simultaneous as possible, knowing that I'm really over-exaggerating that drift. Third stage, once stage 2 is comfortable and repeatable, we can then get significantly closer to the wall and begin to leg lift and drift into that wall. What we don't want is just the butt to touch. We want that whole body to touch, shoulders and all. All right, we got your 2 video clips here synced up to the moment of release. We'll let you watch it twice before we dive into the note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter here. And then we'll give you some big league examples to really illustrate the difference, and then give you some drills to take home with you and start cranking it out. Excellent. And that note that we gave you is just a firm front leg. And that's referring to once that foot gets into the ground at foot strike here, we need this front leg, just like when we hit, to become something that's firm that we can rotate around. Just like when you get that front foot down hitting, if it buckles on you, we're not going to have a very powerful swing. Same thing is applying here with pitching. So we are wanting to see this front leg either hold this position or, even better, start to lock it out and firm it up. So what we kind of notice as we proceed with you is that bend gets even more and the knee keeps drifting forward. So something to think about is we're taking all of this body and we are not just launching it this way, but it's also going down and it's hitting right where that front foot's hitting. So all of our energy is going bam right into the ground there. It's our job with that front leg then to be firm so that it can get shot back up to our upper body to take over with our throw. And you can imagine if all this energy is hitting the ground and then it keeps going into the ground, it keeps going this way, that's not going to allow that opportunity really for that power to get shot back up on time. So what we instead want to be seeing, let's pull some of these big leaguers up in their side view videos, and start with Ben Joyce here, who we're going to notice is a guy that does not get it fully locked out like some others, but what we're going to notice is this got this huge long stride that really helps him create all that power that he uses in his throw to hit 104 miles an hour. But what we see is that knee never really kept going after the fact until now when he's trying to get himself stacked back up. We go to Corbin Burns. We're going to see the same thing. He doesn't completely lock his leg out either. But what we'll notice the same way here is that that knee doesn't keep going until he's stacking his body back up. And that's allowing for the smoother, more efficient transfer of energy to get back up into that throw. Now, Ranger Suarez here is a guy that's going to be completely locking it out. To the point where it almost looks like he hyperextends his knee. Another guy that is very similar in that regard as Ranger would be Verlander. Oops. If we pull up one of his from the side, we'll be able to see the same thing with him and his front leg's ability to get firm for him to rotate around. So right there, that weight's into that front leg, so we'll kind of draw that similar line, and then we'll let him again lock it out so extreme that it looks like it's almost hyperextending that knee of his. So we can get to young Mr. Jacob here. We had the whole league in a tussy about making the All-Star game after like 4 big league starts. And see that same thing. Take him back to true foot strike of here. Oops. And then obviously the camera's kind of panning, so we're not going to be able to see it hold, but we can still see that same action of that front leg locking out. So that's what I'm meaning when I say with your note of a firm front leg. And it's really going to help with the transfer of your energy. So we'll let you watch it one more time here from the beginning. And then I'll get you some drills that'll help you work on this. All right, next we're going to work on being balanced on that front leg, having good stability as our body gets out in front of the leg. Just like it would be when we get to release in our follow through and our finish, we are in front of this leg. So we want to work on the strength, the balance, the stability of getting out here and being able to be balanced. Okay, so we're going to have 3 different objects here of varying heights. The shortest one closest to me, and the higher one furthest from me. Everyone's going to have a little different height based on your flexibility. All I'm going to be doing is going to be on that stride leg. Bam. Working good knee posture. No bending of this leg. Having a good arched lower back as we do this so our back can stay stiff and not be loose and go down hunched. And now we're just going to go down, touch, and come back up. Now you're going to the next one. Down, touch, come back up. And then the third one. Touch, and come back up. So this drill here is going to help us with a few things. First, helping us keep our glove in a good finished position as we are rotating those shoulders to throw the baseball by keeping that hand on the PVC pipe on the outside of our front foot. But even more importantly, this drill is helping us learn how to rotate our shoulders and our hips through release and not just stopping at release. So being able to hold onto that PVC pipe and rotate my shoulders through release, I can rotate around that PVC pipe. The next stage here, we can see we added getting the shoulders back to the position that they are at when we get our front foot into the ground during our pitching delivery. We can see we get that hand that's holding onto the PVC pipe and get that out as if our glove is getting into its separation. So we'll see that here. And then we'll work on swiveling it into our chest and then finishing the rest of the throw through rotation. And then eventually we'll be able to work it all into one motion where we work it back and then come all the way through in one smooth motion. And I have the PVC pipe in front of my foot here, so that way I can make sure that my back foot is coming to a similar position each and every time at the end of the drill. See that my hips go all the way through, the shoulders come all the way through each and every time, but that foot and that head stay right on line. All right, Mr. Howard, we got your 2 clips synced up here to the moment of release. We'll let you watch it twice here, and then we will discuss in a little bit more detail and depth about the note that we provided at the beginning of your video here. All right. Excuse me. That note that I provided was we could look to play around with a slightly closed off stride. The reason I mention this is because there's not really anything that I'm noticing in your delivery that's putting your arm at risk or is minimizing your ability to generate power and command that power. The one thing I do see that I did not mention, that because it's not having any impact on your ability to get this arm loaded on time, and on time just means by the time this front foot gets in the ground, everything's where we want it to be. The one thing just to note in your arm path here, and for coach to kind of see, because we may not be able to see it every time in normal speed, is just this little hitch, like, or twinge in the wrist, on how the ball is coming out in a nice relaxed position, and then it kind of like twists, and kind of does all of that. It's not as drastic when you go like frame by frame with it, but you can kind of see it right there. If we just kind of focus more on like this window, you can see it. And that could just eventually turn into a timing issue where if we don't, because we start here, we do that little sway, and we come back to here, which again, it's not impacting anything, but it just could be something where it's a variable that if we could eliminate, we may be better off. So the actual note about thinking about slightly closing off our stride, if I just went from the back heel into the best of my ability on my trackpad, draw a straight line between your feet, we'd say like that's your alley. And then we can see that stride kind of gets outside of that alley ever so slightly. But it's not to the point where like things are opening up with your upper half and you end up like peeling or anything like that. All of your energy gets to keep coming forward just fine. But what a slightly closed off stride, or even just like a stride that's more like landing over here, where it's still in that lane, but compared to what you're doing, it would be considered like a closed off stride, could add some deceptiveness to us. Guys, especially if you think, I mean, guys your age are still hitting for themselves. You're not getting DH'd or PO'd. I mean, just imagine you're a right-handed batter or a right-handed pitcher who's throwing across his body, who's kind of striding over here. It's just going to make it a little bit more difficult to pick up the ball out of his hand. But literally, dude, everything that you're doing in your delivery is pretty darn mechanically sound in terms of how it's flowing and creating power. So if I provided you an example of, a cross-body stride, you can actually use coach as an example for one. We get coach here. We got you. Let me get coach. Boom. I'll get him over here. So we'll get yours at bam. Back coach up to his foot strike. Or actually, let's draw those lines first. Now, obviously, we're on a slight angle with the perspective, so I was going to kind of, to the best of my ability, kind of go straight. And we can just see how then, bam, there's coach's foot landing on that closed side versus that open side. So something for you and coach to maybe talk about and play around with for a little bit. This is an older video of coach when he was in the minor leagues. So his stride may not have been that way his entire career. Maybe at some point it was straight and he went to more of a across his body stride. So you can chit chat with him about that and see what his thoughts are doing that with you. Just because if you kind of watch this video, how especially even to this left-handed batter, like he's not seeing that ball really until now because of how much across his body he's going. It could potentially also help with any type of movement on our pitches. We can see here, coach got some nice life on his fastball coming back, arm side. Bam! The netting does a good job of helping you see that, right? It's coming through this alley here, but then it runs and sinks. Missing that bat of number 2 there. So something for you guys to think about and talk about and explore and try, because everything else like I'm seeing is pretty darn good outside of this just slightly opened up stride, and it's like barely opened. I mean, you're not even close to the edge of this mound, and this is a pretty narrow mound. So something for you guys to think about. We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is
learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up.
We got your 2 videos synced up here, Mr. Kraemer, to the moment of release. We'll let you watch it here 2 times before we start to break it down and really highlight that note that we gave you at the beginning of your chapter. And then we'll get some big league videos up there to help illustrate those differences. And then finally provide you with some drills that can help you start to work on this at home. That note that we gave is simply loading my arm up. And what we mean by that is we want our arm in a certain position in alignment when this front foot hits the ground. Because once this front foot hits the ground, it's time for that upper half to rotate and throw. So if we stop this, bam, when that foot gets in the ground, we kind of draw some lines on your body here and go shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to wrist. This actually kind of looks like a, what is that, square root sign? I haven't had math class in about 20-something years. What we would instead like to see would be more shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. And if I pull up some big leaguers here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just so you don't think I'm cherry picking, I got guys of all ages, all builds, and we'll get these guys going through and paused at the moment their front foot gets into the ground. And we will see how their alignment much more fits what I showed here. This shoulder to shoulder to elbow to the wrist. We'll keep him up and we'll bring the young buck and we'll have him get paused at that moment of his front foot hitting the ground, which is right about here. And again, we can see from shoulder to shoulder to elbow to wrist is in that alignment there. This camera angle is also kind of shooting back at him a little bit. I bet if it was more on the side like ours, that angle back would be more straight up. We can go to Suarez. And paused him at foot strike. And there's his shoulder to shoulder to elbow to wrist. And you get the other young buck up there. Both of them are 100+ mile an hour guys. Both having different deliveries, different arm strokes, different arm loads. However, when that front foot gets in the ground, they are shoulder to elbow to hand. And we can go with someone that's not so young. We can go with old man Burns, who's not really old, but been around the block a few times. Get him into his foot strike. Let's clear up all this red since we got all those red bleachers so we can see shoulder to elbow to hand. So Let's come back to you. And again, we can see at the moment your front foot gets in the ground, we got shoulder to shoulder, then this real low elbow, and then the hand. And the reason that this is no bueno for us is because, oops, this is going to now force our arm to have to launch up on a very steep angle to try to release this ball that we're trying to throw down. So it's going to put a lot of stress on your arm, as you can see running through. Obviously, everyone's got stress running through their body. There's just a lot in your face at that moment in time of just, I hope I can get it back down because everything's been launching up for so long. It's a lot safer of a position for us to be shoulder to shoulder to elbow to wrist and forearm with that ball. So how are we going to get there? That's where the note of load my arm up comes. As this hand falls out of the glove, nice and relaxed like it does, and then it gets to here, right here, we're the closest we can possibly say that we are to shoulder to elbow going this way. So at this point in time, we need your hand to load up above the elbow versus your elbow dropping down beneath your hand. Right? Your elbow is really going down during this point. Where we're here, here's my glove side, here's my throwing side, you're here, and you're really going this way to load, versus this way to load. So even just like having your J-bands and just having yourself be in a nice road scap position, a scap loaded position, and just making sure that elbow is even with your shoulders and just working on external rotation. You could do that with your J-bands. You could do that with just a couple baseballs in your hand. You could do that with a soup can in your hand. You could do that with just your throwing arm. But just to get the pattern of your arm being up here as your elbow stays in place, your arm comes back into external, versus being here. And the hand, yeah, it does go up a little bit, but it's also the elbow going down. It's here that's causing your elbow to get low versus that arm loading up to stay in that good throwing position. Because the things you do with your lower body are very good in terms of generating power and keeping your weight back and helping you send things forward. Your glove stays in a good position when we're getting into that moment of foot strike. So that way the shoulders stay closed. So that way we have as much separation in our upper and lower half as possible to help have that energy flow out to a good extension. We're just not necessarily getting to there the safest way we possibly can with the least amount of stress on our arm as possible. So learning how to load your arm up is going to be big.
We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up.
All right, got your 2 clips synced up here for the moment of release. We'll let you watch it 2 times through before we revisit the note that was just given at the beginning of your chapter. Dive into some big league videos to help illustrate our point, and then get you some drills that you can start doing at home to make these corrections. And that note that we have for you is load my arm up and firm front side. We're going to spend some time first talking about load my arm up. You are one of like 4 guys on the team, 5 guys on the team that need to work on this big time. So at the moment our front foot gets in the ground here, this is foot strike, boom. At this point in time, upper body is all about that action. Foot down, rotate upper body around. That's what we want to think about. Lower body rotates first, upper body rotates second. Okay. We are looking to have our arm loaded in a somewhat of a certain positioning and alignment to ensure that it's going to safely be able to fire and rotate, lay back smoothly and effortlessly, to have good whip and reduction of stress on it. When the arm gets draggy or it gets out of sync, extra stress gets put on it. Our job is to make the body move as smoothly as possible, so that way that stress is as little as possible. And one of the big key things of that is the alignment of our arm in relation to our shoulders at this point of which this front foot, bam, gets into the ground. And like I said, you got 3, 4, or 5 other teammates that have this same angle here in their arm at that moment that the front foot gets in the ground, where they're now going to start to throw from. The reason that we don't like having this elbow way down here at this point of which the front foot gets in the ground and we are about to rotate around is because from here we're going to see a very steep angle of which we have to get the arm up in order to throw. And we're trying to throw this ball not only down the mound, but on a downward trajectory to the batter's knees. So if my arm is down low and I'm not staying low with a submarine-like arm slot, I'm putting extra unneeded stress on my arm to make that throw. So we can kind of see how that arm is really forced to go up, 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 up. And now we're finally in an alignment where we can come through it, and it's just going to be really tough to do that consistently in the zone long term for your arm's health. So if we take you back to that moment of foot getting in the ground, we kind of just slide you over here. We really only need the back half of you, so we can do that. And I pull up Corbin Burns here, and we let you watch the full speed, and then we'll get into the slow-mo here, and we'll pause him at the moment that his front foot is in the ground. And what we're going to see is shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand is a lot more here. We pull you back up, and we got shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. If we get another big leaguer up here, the rookie from Milwaukee, we will pause him at foot strike as well. And we can see that same, if we just slid him right here, shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. Corbin Burns, Izarowski. And And here's Garrett Cole, shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. How do you get there? Arm falls down, arm and hand load up. Let's get another guy. Take a look at Suarez here. Get him paused at foot strike as well. And we got that same thing. Shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. Let's pull up Ben Joyce. Another young guy who's blowing shed. Get him paused at that moment as well. And we can see shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. And then we just then take that back to you. And we can see those differences. So if let's get Garrett Cole here and clear these lines and get you back. All right, you guys are in similar positions here with your throwing arm. And what we're going to do is we're going to take you a little bit further until we're about right here, where we could say we're the closest to shoulder, shoulder to elbow that we get. Okay, and we'll take Garrett Cole to a similar position, which we'll say about right here. Shoulder to elbow. And now what we're going to watch is, at this point in time, Garrett Cole's hand is going to be loading up. Your hand is going to be loading up, but your elbow is also going to be dropping down. So we'll start with you. And we can see how that elbow is already starting to go beneath that line faster than the hand's going up above the line. And then now we can see at this point in time that only your wrist and your hand's above the line. The rest of your arm is below that line. We come over to Garrett Cole and proceed to have him go forward. And we're going to see just that hand really going up. And now we go back to those shoulders to shoulders where they're at now because you strided further down that mound. And they continue with those shoulders to elbow, which then has his hand above it. Yes, your hand is above your elbow, but the only reason your hand's above your elbow is because your elbow went down a lot. So your arm is here, and you're going both down and up. This is coming up a little bit, but we're doing that by going down with the elbow, rather than the elbow staying here and the arm going up. Arm going up. So even if you just stood with your back up against the wall in your bathroom so you could see in the mirror, and then put your elbows up against the wall and have them even with your shoulders, and then you can relax your glove arm and just keep your throwing arm up there, and then just work on raising that arm up until it touches the wall. Touches the wall. And you just got to be watching yourself in the mirror and make sure that the elbow doesn't go down as you're raising it up. And as long as you're pushing back into the wall as you're raising this up, the arm ain't going to go down at all. So now you can do arm up against the wall, elbow pushing into the wall for 30 seconds at a time. And all you're doing during that 30 seconds is raising it up until the back of your hand touches the wall. Touches the wall. Touches the wall. For 30 seconds, you're going to get a nice little burn going because you're pushing it back there, so your arm's getting stronger. And you're training your body to raise the arm up. Raise the arm up, not drop the elbow down. Like I said, you got like 4 or 5 other teammates that have this same issue, so we'll be able to group you guys all together and just do these drills together.
We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up.
All right, bud. We got your 2 videos synced up here to the time the ball comes out of your hands. We'll let you watch it 2 times here before we dive into the note that we gave you at the beginning of the video here. And then we'll use some big league video examples to help illustrate that note, and then be able to provide you with some drills that we can start doing at home to help you make this change. So that note that we had in the beginning is load my arm up and rotate my front leg on time. What I'm going to spend my time here explaining today is the load my arm up, because that is the most important and thing to address, because it's what's going to help keep your arm healthy. Obviously strong is great, but healthy is the most important. So we're going to talk about loading your arm up. So first we got to explain and highlight how you currently are loading your arm. And to do so, we're going to pause this video at this moment our front foot gets into the ground here. And what we can see is from our front shoulder to our back shoulder, to our back shoulder to the elbow, and to the elbow to the hand, we can see that this elbow, we would say, is low, or it's dipping, or it hasn't loaded up enough. Because, and I'm going to pull up some big league videos here for us to look at. 1, 2, 3, that's you, maybe one day, big leaguer, 3, 4, and 5. All of these guys right now, and what we can even do, let's do this, is we'll make these a little bit smaller so we can see multiples at the same time. Okay. And that way we can kind of take note of how all these guys are in almost the same exact ready to throw position with their arms compared to each other. And then how that is different than your arms ready to throw position. Okay, so we got these 4 guys right here that we can look at and see where their arms are loaded to. So we'll go Corbin Burns first, and we'll go shoulder to elbow to hand. And I know these are kind of in the way. They get kind of big when the screen's smaller. But same thing, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. Garrett Cole, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. And Suarez, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. All right, we're kind of seeing a theme here. And if we get all these guys big again and do that same thing, we can see how they kind of all fit in that same general angles, are very close to one another, and the only deviation of those angles is within the forearm. It's not within the shoulder to elbow area. So we can see how everyone's elbow is at even with or maybe above their shoulders. So we look at you again, and we can see how yours is way down here. So why does your arm get down there? Well, if we get you to about this point in time where we do have shoulders to elbows as close as we do to even with one another, and we just kind of continue that there, and then even if we kind of mark where the bottom of your elbow is right now, if we watch as this hand tries to load up, we also see the elbow going down. So in order for your hand to get elevated north of, for your hand to get above your elbow, instead of doing the movement like you just saw here with my elbow staying in place and my hand coming up, yours is going like this to get the hand above the elbow. And the reason we don't like this is because now it's going to put a lot of stress on the front of your arm here to really drag and try to get this thing going again. It's not the layback. The layback's great. We like that. It's just how we're getting into that layback with that elbow being low is putting us in a higher category long term for a potential arm issue. So if we then stop yours there and we kind of get all of these big leaguers back to that time as well that we have you at, kind of like right here. I know it's hard with the red. I wish I knew how to change the color of my marker here. But we watch Corbin Burns and see how that elbow kind of really never goes beneath that line. It's just the hand that's gone up. We just kind of mark red dots along the lines of the hand. We can see the hand is going up and the elbow has stayed on this line. And now we're in that 90-ish degree bend in the elbow, 90-ish degree bend in the armpit, or our 90-90 loaded throwing arm position. If we use Garrett Cole, he's in his 90 degree armpit, 90-ish degree elbow bend. And then if we go shoulder to elbow and we go backwards in time, we can see how that elbow never really drops beneath that line, but instead the hand and the baseball are gaining ground to get above the elbow in a vertical manner. Here versus here. So something we could very easily do at home with zero resources is just get our back up against the wall in our bathroom where we can see ourselves in the mirror. Get those elbows to push up against the wall. So that way from our one elbow across our chest is even with the other elbow, nice and parallel with the ground, even with our shoulders. And then you can relax your glove arm if you want. and just keep pushing in that elbow into that wall, and then just under control, raise that arm up until the back of your hand touches the wall. And then just do that for 30 seconds or for 15 times. And then relax. Not only is your shoulder going to be burning, which means it's getting stronger, but you're getting the muscle memory of my arm goes up or my hand goes up, not my elbow goes down. And then you can do it with a little bit more of a challenge where now you're having to maybe go here to here, here to here. Oh, sorry. I just saw a deer run right across my front yard. Here to here. Okay. So a lot of different things that we can do. That's just dry work. That's just moving our body in different patterns without even having to have a ball, without even have to use our glove or have to have someone to throw the ball to. We'll use one more big leaguer here to, we already used Burns. We'll use Ben Joyce. That'll be an easy one to draw lines and see. So, bam, we got right here, shoulder to elbows as close as we can get, and we're going to watch the hand continues to go up, 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 and the elbow does not go down, 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 down to help the hand go up, 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 up. Elbow, shoulder to other elbow, and then we'll see the hand goes up, and the elbow stays even. And then all these guys now have a very safe spot to throw from, a very healthy spot to rotate their trunk and their upper bodies, not just around, but forward and out in front. That's, in my opinion, going to be the most important thing to work on. And if we can get that squared away, then we'll have time to also tackle the rotate your front leg on time. And real quick, we'll just show that your front leg is really hitting inside part of your foot first, because we're not really rotating this knee or getting this front hip to kind of open up. And then because of that, the foot's got to roll over now. The knee is still going to be in our way, preventing our backside from really being able to come through, which is why we're going to next see that sway of that knee getting out of the way. So there goes all of our energy and direction and consistency and power. And then we also, on top of the low arm load and this non-rotated front leg, aka this swinging effect that occurs after, we're now throwing really around ourselves rather than through ourselves. So just a little bit even more stress on that arm just to try to get out in front of us at release. But it does get firmed up and solid after the fact. So it's definitely wants to be there. It just has never gotten there on time to know what to expect. So I'll include some front leg rotation drills, but I think a lot of the focus needs to be getting this bad boy up a little bit, so that way we're not at risk of front arm injuries.
We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. This drill is going to help us be able to learn and train getting our front leg to complete its rotation by the time that front foot hits the ground. Meaning that kneecap getting towards that target, getting the foot more towards that target. So that way our back hip can come through. That way our belt buckle is more towards our target. So this first series here, we're just picking that foot up and we're just rotating it. We're starting it in our bad angle and we're getting it into the good angle. And our second stage here is we're gonna set something out in front of us and we're gonna work on gaining ground as we finish that rotation. So it's closed and then it's finished rotated, it's open at the end. We're starting in our bad position that we're currently getting into and we're moving into the position we want to be in. We can see how that helps get all the lower half to rotate.
All right, Donohue, we got your 2 videos synced up to release. We'll let you watch it twice here, and then we will get into the note that we gave at the beginning of your chapter, and then use some big league examples to help illustrate what we're talking about. And then we'll give you some drills at the end that you can start to do at home to begin to feel these differences and changes and to begin to help make them muscle memory. So that 2 notes that we got, load my arm up and establish some early momentum. The most important of those is this load my arm up, because it's going to be the key thing for you to help keep your arm healthy. Because right now, where our arm is loaded to is a less than ideal spot for our arm to be trying to create power from and throw from. So what we'll do to show this is we'll pause this at the moment that this front foot of yours is getting into the ground, because at this moment of that front foot hitting the ground, the lower body, we want to have fired and rotated and driven us as far down this mountain as we can. Not as we can, or as our body should. Everyone is a little bit different in that regard. However, everyone, no matter what, is not going to want to start to rotate their shoulders to throw until after that front foot gets into the ground. So that means at this point in time, upper body is going to start to want to rotate and throw, which means where our arm is at this moment in time is our loaded arm position. What we're going to see with your arm, if we go shoulder to elbow to hand, we got this elbow beneath or under our shoulders, lower than our shoulders, however you like to think of it or visualize it. But shoulder to elbow to hand. This is the position that your arm is going to now throw from, because the shoulders are about to rotate now. What we instead want to be seeing is more shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. So I'll pull some of these big league videos up here to help, to help illustrate that for us. All right, and we'll start with Garrett Cole. We'll pause him at that moment that that front foot strikes the ground. And we'll note that his shoulder to elbow to hand is there. Let's then go to the young flamethrower Ben Joyce, who has a completely different arm path than Garrett Cole, but we'll get to very similar positions. So again, there's his foot strike, and we got shoulder to elbow to hand. Let's then go to a completely different guy in Corbin Burns, and we'll pause him at foot strike. Let's raise him up a little bit so then we can match his shoulder to elbow to hand. Again, this line is just getting thicker and thicker. There's not becoming more and more individualized lines. They're becoming more and more the same. We got Mizorowski here. I think I'm saying that right, but I never hear it say that way. And we got to get him to his foot strike. I can't see his foot hitting the ground. Right now, right, one frame back, somewhere between this frame and this frame is when he's really getting that weight in there. And we can see we drop him down, and we got shoulder to shoulder to elbow to hand. So we got some variations in where the hand and the balls are. But what we don't have variation in is the shoulder to shoulder to elbow. This is just one thick line now. Here's our individualities, but here's our universals. And the only thing that these 4 pitchers that we just highlighted have in common is that they throw baseballs hard. They all do it differently. They all start different. They all start in a different position. They all move the hands differently. But that universal position, they all get into. If you want to throw hard and you want to do it for a long time, like Garrett Cole and Corbin Burns, this is the position we want to get into. So what we want to think about is why then is yours not like that. So if we find a spot where we can say we have shoulder to shoulder to elbow pretty darn close to that same line, and we mark kind of where like the bottom of that elbow is even, we're going to watch as your arm is trying to load up, instead of it going up, up, up with the elbow staying in place, it's instead going like this. So we'll watch as this hand's going up, the elbow is also going down. It's not as drastic as some of your teammates, but it is there. Your hand goes up, but the elbow is also going down at this time as well. If we get back to these big leaguers and we kind of get them into similar, Ben Joyce is not the greatest example to highlight this with because his arm stroke is very unique. But we get to a Garrett Cole who is in this type of position that matches kind of this position of yours. And if we just kind of use, the back half of your body here, like that, to compare to Garrett's, right? If we kind of like got rid of this part of his body here and all we can see is the same part of you, your guys' arms are in similar spots. But if we watch and kind of go shoulder to shoulder with Garrett here to that elbow, we're going to watch as his hand goes up, that elbow's not going underneath his shoulders. Obviously, he's going down the mound, so that changed a little bit, but here's his shoulders again, back to being even. So when his head is this high, shoulder to shoulder to elbow is even. And then when he gets that foot in the ground and he is this high, that elbow is shoulder to shoulder. Oops, that's not a good line. Shoulder to shoulder to elbow again. So we were really just looking, Bud, to learn and train the arm just to keep the elbow more in a line or in line with the shoulders or up as his hand is making this route or this path up, making sure that this elbow stays more in line with the shoulder. So something I've been telling your teammates that they can be doing is just getting their backs up against the wall where you can see yourself in a mirror, so probably your bathroom. Push your elbows up against the wall so that they're even with your shoulders. You can then relax your glove arm and then just have your throwing arm there pushing your elbow into that wall and just raise that hand up until it hits the wall. And then watching yourself in the mirror, you can see and notice if it ever, even if you're pushing into the wall hard, it should never happen. But if it starts to get tiring and you start to not push in as much, then you might, if you're watching, you'll notice if that elbow goes down versus hand going up. And that's going to be a big part of keeping your arm healthy. The other thing, establishing some early momentum, that's going to be something that coach can work on you or can work with you after we get this cleaned up a little bit. But this is going to just help you get your body going and get some extra energy in your throw. Just real quickly, I'll show you kind of, here's that body of yours, and we kind of draw just a couple lines to help see motion, right? And we can even put one back here. You're going to lift this leg up. You got a good leg lift. It comes up, but now here comes your body just straight down, 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 down. And now that you've sank as deep as you're ever going to get in your delivery with that back leg, now you're forced to try to just blow out your energy forward to get you going again. So our path was like down and then out. And if we've ever seen that, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but you probably never watched it, but Mythbusters has this really good clip where they have 3 ramps. One's really kind of just like, there's the curve down there. The other one is kind of like this. And then the third ramp is like that. And they can each drop a ball from up here at the same time. And this one right here is quick. This one right here takes some time, but then it gets going. Darn it, my fat fingers. But this one right here, this route right here, gets you down here the quickest. And when we're in the stretch, time is not our friend. We're trying to get into foot strike as quickly as we can. So not only are we carrying a lot of energy with this type of path, but we're going to be able to get the ball to our catcher quicker to give him some time to handle this running game for us. Which obviously at your age is becoming important. The longer you play this game, the more important that becomes. And I'm sure coach can emphasize that as well if he ever spent time in the bullpen. So I would be really trying to work on just getting this elbow up a little bit higher to keep your arms safe.
We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up.
We got 3 stages to this drill that's going to help us learn how to get early momentum in our delivery. Stage 1's on the left, 2's in the middle, and the final stage is on the right. Stage 1, we're just getting comfortable with our body going forward without our feet needing to get involved at all. Just allowing that weight to go into the wall as that elbow touches, and then extend ourselves back out. Second drill gets the leg lift going. I use my offhand at the top of my leg lift, so I have a thing to kind of judge my timing off of. When do I feel my knee touching my hand compared to my elbow touching that wall? And I'm looking for it to be as simultaneous as possible, knowing that I'm really over-exaggerating that drift. Third stage, once stage 2 is comfortable and repeatable, we can then get significantly closer to the wall and begin to leg lift and drift into that wall. What we don't want is just the butt to touch. We want that whole body to touch, shoulders and all. All right, NordVPN. I still think that'd be a sweet nickname, VPN. Here's your 2 videos synced up to the point of when that ball comes out of your hand. We'll let you watch it another time here before we revisit that note that was given at the beginning of your chapter. And then we'll use some big league videos to illustrate our point, and then we'll get you some drills that you can start doing to help yourself make those adjustments. The first one I want to talk about is this violent shoulder rotation in a downward direction, or at least thinking that's what we're trying to accomplish, is going down with our rotation. So we're going to pause this when that front foot gets into the ground. That nice high leg lift that you got here, that's on a nice slight angle back. You do a good job keeping that front side closed. Something else that we're doing a real good job of before we get to what we want to work on, this glove does a real good job of finishing on time, so that way we're keeping that chin over our shoulder, that glove finish into our body. At this moment that front foot gets in the ground, so none of our upper body's energy has the opportunity to start leaking or opening early on us. We got a well-loaded arm position at this moment of foot strike, which is something a lot of the guys on your team are needing to work on to help keep their arms healthy, so you can be a reference to some of those if they're looking for a video to see what it looks like with their teammates. That's good. You're definitely a guy. So from this point here that this foot is getting, let me really get that in the ground for you there. We can kind of draw like a line here with our center of our body. And now what we'll do is we'll draw another line through your body when we get you to, when we get you to release here. Boom, so there's release. We draw another line right through the kind of like your head. And what we can say is this is the amount that your trunk, this area of your body from your shoulders to your hips, this large, strong chunk of muscle here and meat is our trunk. And the more that we can think about using this when we throw, the less stress is on this when we throw. At the end of the day, we want as little stress here and as much stress in this part of our body, in our legs, because the rest of our body can handle that stress over and over and over and over again. This, having to do all that on its own, not so much. So what we want to think about is, can we get our upper body out like this far with that baseball still in our hand? And if so, what does that look like? Like, how much further out in front is that ball being released? Is it 2 more inches? Is it 3 more inches? Can that baseball now get to the target a little quicker if it doesn't have to travel as far? Does the batter have a little less time to pick up the spin of the pitch that you're throwing? All of these things are teeny tiny little things, but those are the things that can start separating a freshman player from a JV player, or a JV player from a varsity player, or a guy that's able to play at the next level after high school and the guy that can't. Scratch that. Anyone that wants to play college baseball, there is a college out there that you could play at. Pretty much end of story. As long as you can play high school baseball at the varsity level, there's a college out there for you. So, and if you need help with that, you let me know. I can find a school that you could have the talent to play at. But let's get to some big league examples here, okay? Corbin Burns, we will back him up. Ben Joyce, we'll back him up. Jacob Mizraski, back him up. Coltrane, we'll back him up. We'll now let these guys go through. Once at their full normal speed. And then in slow motion so we can have the ability to pause at that moment of foot strike. We'll do that same line through his center body. We'll let that continue on then until we get to the moment that that ball is coming, bam, out of his hand. And we'll draw that line. Let's get Ben Joyce up there. Get him paused at bam. Bring him back so that we can use that same line. We'll get him to, so somewhere between these two frames. So we'll even just use the more conservative one. We can say, do we even really need to draw a line? Because this one looks like it's pretty much the same. So that's then pull up our next guy, Corbin Burns. Foot's in the ground. We'll bring him over to there. Ooh, he's coming in hot. So again, somewhere between these two frames is when that ball is coming out. So we'll just keep him there. And again, do we even need to draw a line? Because it's looking like it's almost the same. Again, not everybody, and it's just ironic that these guys are all the same. Not everybody is the same. I don't want to make that seem like it's the point. The point I'm just trying to drive home is guys get way out, and it's going to be impossible because this camera is panning, so we can't use Jacob here. Let's do get one more guy, though. And I'll just get a random guy so you don't think I'm cherry picking it. Kershaw. I got a better one of Kershaw, though. Here we go. All right. Obviously, Kershaw being left-handed, those lines are going to go the other way. So I'll do something once we get him. Boom. There's his foot strike. And we'll do this. We'll turn him into a righty. Bam. Okay. That way it's no debate on where this line's going in relation to the others. So ball's out right there. And again, there's that angle. I could definitely find guys for sure, bud, that are less. But the point we're trying to get is if we can think about throwing down, getting this trunk to come on down. I got an axe in my hand, and I'm chopping wood, not just with my arms, but with my body. I'm at the carnival. I got that sledgehammer. I'm going to hit the block, and I need that thing to go all the way up and hit the bell. Right? I want to use my body. There's someone that's on my back. I grab their arm, and I'm going to flip them over my body. Get this involved with the throw. Send this bad boy down with our throw. And then the other thing is just rhythm in your arm load. So what that looks like is we kind of just have this arm that just gets pulled straight back. Which is kind of Ben Joycey, but you're short and compact getting pulled straight back. right? So if we pull Ben Joyce back up, right, Ben Joyce gets to this position very quickly, and then he maintains it, right? He gets to this position, then he just maintains it like just a freak. But his arm's kind of long and loopy to get there, so that takes up some of his time that his lower body is going through its progression. Yours gets there quick, and it's also short, so I feel like it's kind of just it's just stagnant, and like the elbow almost seems like it's coming through early. Like this foot's not even all the way in the ground yet, and we can see the elbow is starting to come through as that foot's still getting in the ground. And I wonder if we just got a little bit of more extension in the elbow. Not deliberate extension, but just more relaxation of the elbow so the hand falls down more. Or if we liked staying that compact in the elbow, getting more scap engagement, getting it loaded back there. Just something to get some flow, because it's just straight there. And then the elbow comes through early. If we could find some rhythm in that load, I think that's going to help. All right, next we're going to work on being balanced on that front leg, having good stability as our body gets out in front of the leg. Just like it would be when we get to release in our follow through and our finish, we are in front of this leg. So we want to work on the strength, the balance, the stability of getting out here and being able to be balanced. Okay, so we're going to have 3 different objects here of varying heights. The shortest one closest to me, and the higher one furthest from me. Everyone's going to have a little different height based on your flexibility. All I'm going to be doing is going to be on that stride leg. Bam. Working good knee posture. No bending of this leg. Having a good arched lower back as we do this, so our back can stay stiff and not be loose and go down hunched. And now we're just going to go down, touch, and come back up. Now you're going to the next one. Down, touch, come back up. And then the third one. Touch. This drill here is going to help us learn how to rotate our chest forward. Taking our back shoulder and driving it forward as we rotate versus those shoulders opening up and flying out as we rotate. We want to find an object that has a little bit of a padding so we can send that forearm right into it without having to worry about it hurting. So you can see the side one, I had it, but the front view one, it's missing, so I had a little bruise when I got done with it. But we're just working on going back and forth, back and forth. Our chest is tall when we're back, and then it's leaning forward when we're making contact with that wall or wherever that object is that we're hitting. If I was to have that front shoulder open up to the side and then I try to hit that, I'm going to miss that target, or just barely my elbow is going to hit it instead of the forearm. So this is a really good drill to learn how to rotate forward. All right, Mr. Downs. We have your 2 video clips here synced up to the moment that ball comes out of your hand. We'll let you watch it 2 times in a row before we revisit the note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter. And we'll use some big league video examples to help illustrate that point. And then we'll give you some drills at the end that you can start to work on to help you feel the difference in the mechanics and to help you get some confidence and begin building new muscle memory. All right, and that note that we got, there's two of them. The first one mentions our hand separation, and the other one talks about staying taller on our back leg. So let's start with this one of staying taller on our back leg to help with your direction. So what we're going to look at is from the top of this nice high leg lift that you have, which is great. We are going to watch this back leg, which has a slight bend to it already, which is great. And what we're going to see is that bend very quickly increases. And not only does it increase, but the knee kind of pushes out. And now because it pushes out, we're in like kind of a less than sturdy position. We can kind of already see our heels coming off the ground because our weight has really kind of jolted this way because of that knee kind of buckling that way a little bit. Now that our knee has collapsed so much, all of our energy in our body is kind of gone boom down, which is okay because we got to get down. We got to not only our body get down to get into a stronger loaded position, but we got to get down this mound. However, I'm a big proponent for getting down and out at a more synchronized route versus this big drop and now try to drive it. I'm not saying that style isn't useful or good for certain guys, definitely. But I'm thinking this is something that is impacting our stride direction because we are dropping so much down and we do have that buckle. I do wonder if our across our body stride is what our body wants versus what our body is just forced to be in. Because we can still see how much, as this heel is starting to get in the ground, how this back knee here is still wanting to go this way. As if it just has not ever been able to recover and begin to rotate forward. Until right as the heel is like, the foot is in the ground, then we can start to see the knee begin to rotate. And it's just a little guy. It's just that little bit right there. And we can, if we look at it over here, it's just that little bit that knee's getting to rotate. That little bit. And we want that whole thing to be wha-bam. So I wonder if your stride isn't meant to be even just like 1 foot's width over here. Should your foot be here maybe? Or maybe even should your foot be somewhere over here? Even if your foot was over here, from where you're starting on the pitching rubber, that would still be slightly across your body. We're just at a super extreme spot, and I was definitely quoted earlier with, don't ever let someone tell you to not stride across your body. But I just don't think your stride across your body is actually across your body. I think your stride right now is straight, just according to where this back leg's energy is taking you. I mean, everything with that leg right now is just angled this way, and then you're kind of just stuck that way. And then we can see just how much this knee's got to go for your body to feel comfortable to rotate around. That's another indicator where I don't know if this across your body stride is natural for you. I think this is something your body is forced into because of this back leg's instability and how fast and rapidly it drops down and then buckles that knee out, forcing a lot of weight to get loaded into your knee and quad versus being more in the glute or your butt cheek. So definitely something to think about and to talk to Coach with, because Coach, at least at some point in his career that I have seen in video, threw across his body as well. So he'd be a guy for you to definitely talk to and bounce some ideas off of. The other thing that I want to talk about, which is going to help get your entire body in sync. So these may be impacted by this as well. So we're going to now look at your hand separation, and your throwing arm does a good job of being relaxed and just kind of falling out of this glove. And then it does a good job getting into its loaded position. Like everything that your throwing arm is doing, there's not really anything that I would say is wrong or needs to really be worked on. What I really want to shift the focus to in the hand separation is the glove and its path that it's taking. It's just because it's very unique, and being that it's going up, 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 up is cool, but it's going up at a faster rate than the elbow. So like most guys that are going to have this high glove, it's usually because the elbow has gotten up there and then their glove is extending away from their body as that elbow is continuing to rise up. So now they got like an angled arm up. You kind of have like you're raising your hand in class. Like if you were sitting sideways and the teacher was over there, you'd be like raising your hand like this to answer a question. So then that leads us to when this front foot gets down, this glove, like we're throwing like this, like we're a NFL referee signaling the field goal was good. So if I use some big league examples to kind of show you where guys' gloves are at when that front foot gets down, we got a couple here that we can get. We got Kershaw looking like a lefty. Let me switch that back to, oh shoot, didn't want to do that. Let me switch him back to lefty. Oh, let me just play it fast speed for you once. We'll pause it at foot strike with the slow motion, where my success rate is a lot higher. So we can see here, like his throwing arm's position and your throwing arm's position are very similar. But then we look at your glove arm position, which is almost the inverse or the mirror image of your throwing arm. And then we go to Kershaw, and we can see his glove is tucked up underneath him over here. Since you are a lefty and I'm a lefty and I love lefties, let me get you some more lefties. Chris Sale. Completely different arm slot than Clayton Kershaw by about as extreme as you can get. Kershaw's way over the top. Obviously, Chris Sale is sidearm. Maybe some would argue low 3/4. I would definitely say sidearm though. And we can see, let me back him up. The foot strike, bam. His arm loaded like yours, but the glove is up into the body. The arms are going out. Even if it's going up, then we want to think about that glove swiveling back to us so then we can rotate ourselves forward. See how the glove just kind of stays in that same spot as it was when it first got foot in the ground. Let's get another lefty for you. Let's go. Where's the roll this? Oh, that's World Baseball Classic original Chapman. That's what brought him onto the scene. It's also skinny Chapman, pre-weight room Chapman. So we'll get him into that moment foot strike, and again, there's that loaded arm just like yours, but then that glove is making its way into the body. So see, he's out there, and then it's this little with the glove, a little let me get here, and then let me just stay there as my body comes to it. So those are the two big things for you. finding out from Coach if he agrees with my assessment of your across your body stride is not natural for you, and it's being created because of this back legs kind of pushing of the energy that way, and then just your inability to redirect it or back around on time. And then definitely going to want to do something with this guy and learn how to get it back up in there. So just a lot of even just sitting here watching NFL Red Zone and just being, have your glove on your hand, bam, and just work on, this. Just do this for an entire Lions drive where they play tonight. I'm not a Lions guy. I'm a Packer guy. Just for an entire Lions first drive, you could just be doing this. I'm probably not going to get this video out to you before the Lions game. That's funny. But just anything you can do to just do this. I mean, shoot, I've done this for 30 seconds and my shoulder's starting to burn already. And if my muscles are starting to burn, I can be burning that mental rep in my brain as well. So those are two big things I'd be recommending for you.
So this drill here is going to help us with a few things. First, helping us keep our glove in a good finished position as we are rotating those shoulders to throw the baseball by keeping that hand on the PVC pipe on the outside of our front foot. But even more importantly, this drill is helping us learn how to rotate our shoulders and our hips through release and not just stopping at release. So being able to hold onto that PVC pipe and rotate my shoulders through release, I can rotate around that PVC pipe. The next stage here, we can see we added getting the shoulders back to the position that they are at when we get our front foot into the ground during our pitching delivery. We can see we get that hand that's holding onto the PVC pipe and get that out as if our glove is getting into its separation. So we'll see that here. And then we'll work on swiveling it into our chest and then finishing the rest of the throw through rotation. And then eventually we'll be able to work it all into one motion where we work it back and then come all the way through in one smooth motion. And I have the PVC pipe in front of my foot here, so that way I can make sure that my back foot is coming to a similar position each and every time at the end of the drill. You can see that my hips go all the way through, the shoulders come all the way through each and every time, but that foot and that head stay right on line. We can get a couple different benefits out of this drill here. The first is learning how to sit into our back hip, how to keep that weight back as our body progresses out towards the target. We can also use this drill to help us continue to feel that hand separation and that good smoothness in where the glove's going. We can work on the arm path while we're doing this drill. And we can also be working on keeping that front leg closed until the drill stops. And once the drill stops, that front foot should be in a neutral or closed position, working on not opening up. We can use this drill here for a multitude of things. One, we can use this for helping us get some extension in our glove. If our hand separation, our glove path is super short and condensed, we can use this drill to help us lengthen that out. We can also use this drill to help us with our arm path. If we got a long, loopy arm, we can use this to help load that arm up and keep our arm compact.
Pretty sweet name. We got your two clips here synced up to when that ball comes out of our hand at release. We'll let you watch it 2 times here before we revisit the note that was given to you at the beginning of your delivery, or beginning of your chapter rather. And then we'll use some big league examples to help illustrate the things that are mentioned, and then we will get you some drills that we can do as well to help feel those differences and get ourselves feeling confident. That first thing is we want to get this back leg rotated on time. What I mean by that is on time refers to when this nice, good high leg lift gets into the ground. And that would be right now. And we can see that this backside really hasn't fired yet. And as these shoulders come rotating around is the same time that your back leg is rotating around. And the arm is kind of dragging behind because of that. Because the fact that when our body moves in the appropriate sequence, the back hip firing forward is supposed to like cue up or sync for most guys this arm loading up. So it's like hip goes forward and upper body comes backwards. So you get this tension build up. So when you throw, bam, that tension comes out. And when our lower body doesn't fire, and it does that for long enough, our upper body is going to start to try to find ways to cheat the system and feel powerful. And so what I have to imagine is your arm over the years of throwing the baseball with this back leg not operating on time, because even when we throw a baseball, even not pitching, we're still having the lower body rotate first. Pitching, it just becomes more aggressive and easily seen. Primarily because the stride gets so long, so there's more time for it to occur. But you just watch regular MLB guys play catch, and you capture it on slow motion, you look, their lower halves are all firing first. So I have to imagine over the years of this not occurring on time, your arm has found that if it kind of just like dips at the end, right? Because it's not dipping early. Like your arm is loading up here. The elbow dips a little bit, and I think it's because now you're going to just kind of fling things around. And it's easy to get this back hip going, this back knee going, and this back foot going forward if I just kind of fling this upper body from side to side as aggressively and out of control as I possibly can, because that's the only way I can ever feel as if my arm is moving fast, because my arm is not just rotating forward. It's having to like pull along this entire backside with it because it's just going at the same time. So the only way that this would ever feel like it's moving fast is if it kind of just like flings itself. And that's very much apparent by this how you had this finish is just going backwards. Because you're trying, your upper body, specifically your back shoulder, is having to like pull this way, like literally into the soccer field over here, just to get this to go here. And that's why it feels the need to like almost go backwards, because it's just so hard and aggressive out that way with this back shoulder trying to come through just to help the lower half go. So if we could get this back leg to rotate on time, and I'll show you what on time looks like. We don't need to use the lefty no more. Even though Chapman is a hell of an example of everything getting rotated on time. We'll stick with our righties. So Ben Joyce, we'll start him from the top for you. And then we'll pause him when his front foot hits the ground. right here. And we can just see the difference in his backside here at that moment of that front foot hitting the ground. And I'll pull you back up. Where are you at? At your moment of, bam, your foot in the ground. Right there. There's your backside compared to this backside. Right? We know Ben Joyce rocks Adidas because there's the 3 stripes. I ain't got a clue what you're rocking. Granted, it's black on black, and that's red on white, but I don't even think if there was a white logo over there, I'd be able to tell. Well, that's just one guy, so let's go to Corbin Burns. Completely different everything than Ben Joyce. But when we pause him at foot strike, boom, there's that foot in the ground. We look back here, we pull him off to the side, and get you back there again. And again, we can tell Corbin Burns rocks Nikes because as this front foot is about to get in the ground, his back knee rotates forward. His back hip goes forward, which results in his back foot coming off the mound in a forward direction. Yes, it's rotating, but rotating forward. Your leg's going to do all of those same movements just after the fact that the foot's in the ground. So because the foot's already in the ground, the amount that they can do is not as much. And because the time is occurring the same time the knee is rotating as the elbow is rotating, there's no power in that. And because there's no power in that, that means our kinetic sequence of movements from ground up has been broken. And once that breaks, stress gets added to the arm and velocity drops. So let's get one more guy to show you that. And get Garrett Cole here. Paused at his moment of front foot getting down to the ground. And we'll do the same thing. Getting him over. We'll pull you back up. And we'll see when your foot gets, bam, into the ground. Right there. You can see those differences again in that position of turned over, rotated, driven, where that belt buckle's going towards the target right now. If you had baseball pants on with a belt, your belt buckle's right there. So again, we can watch as that back knee rotates, hip drives, foot turns over, all while this foot's in the air. Learning how to rotate one leg independently of the other. We got 4 things. We got 5 really. Front leg, back leg, glove side arm, throwing arm, and head. Because everything's moving independently, right? We got the front legs rotating. The back leg is rotating. The front arm is finishing. The back arm is loading up to go, all while the head is trying to stay independent of all of those and right on target. And when all of that's timed up, we become elite. So backside firing on time. And the second thing is get out in front and throw down, which is going to become a lot easier when your back leg rotates on time because your back leg will be rotating you and moving you forward. And if your body is going forward, you'll want to throw forward, which means out in front. And out in front means down. So real quickly here, we're going to kind of go quicker through this part here. Front foot's down. Ball's out of his hand. He is that far down with his chest before that ball comes out. Corbin Burns will put him in that same spot. Pause him when that ball comes out of his hand. We can see the blur. It's right here. That ball, he's in this angle right here. We come to Ben Joyce. We put him right there. We get him to release right here. We can see that ball's out. And here he is. So Kershaw, we put him here, get him down, ball comes out right here. And here he is, almost mirror opposite. We now throw you up into here at the moment your front foot gets in the ground. We put you over on that line. We get you to release, and there's that ball out of your hand, and we're right here. So more than halfway back from these guys that are way out here is where you are right here. So this is all that you're getting to go down with. They're getting all of that to go down with. We want to get out in front with release. And like I said, because everything's having to rip so far this way, your body's got no chance to get out in front. Everything's just going that way. Heavy, 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 heavy.
All right, we're going to be working on getting our backside leg rotated and driven forward, not just spinning in place. So we can just be sitting on a bench, in a chair, anywhere we can have our hands on either side of it to keep our upper body squared and stable. And we're just going to be driving through that big toe, which means we're folding over that big toe to get the foot forward versus spinning in place where the knee stays in place. We need to drive the foot forward to get the knee to go forward versus spinning in place and the knee not going forward. So we can just sit on that bench, on that chair, and just work and practice this movement here of folding over that big toe, driving your foot forward, getting your heel to be in front of your toe at the end.
This drill here is going to help us learn how to rotate our chest forward. Taking our back shoulder and driving it forward as we rotate versus those shoulders opening up and flying out as we rotate. We want to find an object that has a little bit of a padding so we can send that forearm right into it without having to worry about it hurting. So you can see the side one, I had it, but the front view one is it's missing, so I had a little bruise when I got done with it. But we're just working on going back and forth, back and forth. Our chest is tall when we're back, and then it's leaning forward when we're making contact with that wall or wherever that object is that we're hitting. If I was to have that front shoulder open up to the side and then I try to hit that, I'm going to miss that target, or just barely my elbow is going to hit it instead of the forearm. So this is a really good drill to learn how to rotate forward. All right, next we're going to work on being balanced on that front leg, having good stability as our body gets out in front of the leg. Just like it would be when we get to release in our follow through and our finish, we are in front of this leg. So we want to work on the strength, the balance, the stability of getting out here and being able to be balanced. Okay, so we're going to have 3 different objects here of varying heights. The shortest one closest to me, and the higher one furthest from me. Everyone's going to have a little different height based on your flexibility. All I'm going to be doing is going to be on that stride leg. Bam. Working good knee posture. No bending of this leg. Having a good arched lower back as we do this so our back can stay stiff and not be loose and go down hunched. And now we're just going to go down, touch, and come back up. Now you're going to the next one. Down, touch, come back up. And then the third one. Touch,